Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Mace, and today on Experimental Reviews, I'm going to be covering Starfield on Xbox One X. And yeah, you heard that right. I played it on Xbox One X, but I played it using the Game Pass Ultimate Streaming. I didn't have any special programming or anything I did for it. So, without further ado, here we go. The game is definitely beautiful, and it's quite the sight to behold when you get scenes like this where you can see another planet from where you're standing on. And everything's got really high resolution textures and looks great. The lighting's great, and it changes based on the environment. Sometimes on Game Pass Ultimate streaming, the textures will drop to the lowest quality, or it'll drop all the way down to 240p resolution. Of course, that's not Bethesda's fault, that's all Microsoft server's fault, because they didn't have it set up to anticipate the need that this game was going to have. But overall, I would say that this is probably one of the better looking games that's available for the Xbox Series S or Series X right now, and it's definitely quite a sight to behold at certain times. The customizing your spaceship aspect of it is also very cool and deep, but it's all based on what level you're currently at on the piloting and spaceship engineering. And you can't really build any round ships, so those people wanting to make like Star Trek ships or those spherical UFOs, you're going to be out of luck on that. But there is a pretty deep system here that allows you to add a lot to a ship to make it look incredibly strange, or to even make it look like the Normandy from Mass Effect. The leveling up system for your character is also kind of a mixed bag. I mean, you've got a lot of options, probably a lot more than you saw in any Fallout or Elder Scrolls game, but all of it's really dependent on actions that you take in the game. I mean, you can't just add in a point to something you want every time you level up. You have to perform the actions that allow you to enter that point. And it's something that seems kind of like padding the game out in some respects. I mean, there were some things that were easier to do, so I didn't mind it, but there were some things that took me forever before I could level up, and that was a little bit frustrating. The space battles are also a ton of fun, but you run into them so infrequently that it's almost kind of a non-factor unless you're in the middle of a huge story mission. So leveling up your spaceship and your weapons and everything is probably not going to be a huge part of the game for you, because I mean, you can enter a bunch of different systems, and unless you've got a bounty on you, you're not really going to have anybody chasing you or see very many space battles. Now, the main portion of the gameplay, the shooting or melee attacking, is a lot of fun, and it's really handled very well. The controls are pretty good on it, and it stands up there with some of the best shooters available on Xbox. Just for some people, it can probably get kind of tedious and repetitive towards the end, but I never personally got very tired of it, and I also liked picking up different weapons and upgrading them and seeing how they could affect higher level enemies. So the romance that I went through in my first playthrough of the game was Sarah Morgan, and I thought she was just kind of the more attractive option and kind of had that Jennifer Lawrence type feel to her. Most of the endgame content I ended up playing through with the bounty hunter suit. You can upgrade that to pretty high levels to where it ends up being one of the best suits in the entire game, and it's definitely one I would recommend you pick up as often as you can. There are various level versions of it that you can find on different higher level planets. One of my favorite aspects and favorite missions in the game is the one where you get to meet and recruit Amelia Earhart. I think it's a missed opportunity that you don't get to romance her, but I think it's really cool that they have her in the game at all. And there's a really good story reason for that I'm not going to spoil here. Probably my favorite aspect of the game, and this would go for Fallout 4 as well, is the base building aspect. I built up these huge bases with tons of displays and storage tanks and everything for all my items, and I tried to make them as beautiful and as futuristic looking as possible. And I thought they were all pretty great meeting places for any of the crew to just hang out, and I got way more out of this than I did out of any other aspect of the game. I'd say probably more than half of my game is spent putting these bases together. And I put most of them on the places where you pick up the snow globes around Earth and the moon, just because I wanted something beautiful to look at through the window. Now, that brings me to probably one of my biggest frustrations with the game, and that's how they depicted Earth. I mean, it would take thousands to 10 to hundreds of thousands of years for it to appear the way that it does in the game, given what happened and how buildings are built the last 100 years or so. It's just a huge disappointment, and I kind of would rather they've gone the way Futurama did, one of their earlier episodes, where Leela meets Zap Brannigan for the first time, and the planet explodes, but you get to see all these little areas from the planet just hanging out in space with animals on it. I would rather have seen something like that than the Earth that we got in the game. I also kept falling through the ground when I tried to load up my area that I had built up near the Los Angeles monument, and that happened pretty frequently, and I haven't found a fix for that. Now, I haven't played the game in a month or so I don't know if they fixed that yet or not, but it was a huge frustration, and I'd have to reload the game, which sometimes I didn't save at the right spot. And I spent probably 4 to 5 hours following guides and trying to find Pisa on Earth, and I never could. So take all those videos out there showing Pisa with a grain of salt. I mean, your experience is going to vary, but I honestly do not think that it's in the current version of the game, and neither are the Utah or Mecca monuments. Overall, even though I would say that I enjoyed huge parts of the game, I would say that unless you're really into the whole Bethesda thing where by the end of the game you're playing the same missions over and over, and the New Game Plus isn't really set up quite the way you would expect. It takes more of a multiverse approach and you lose everything except your character progress, then I would probably wait on the game for it to go on sale, the standard version. Now, if you can get a good price on the Constellation Edition, I would buy it, and that's something I'll probably do, even though I don't own a Series X yet. And I would also recommend playing it on the Game Pass Ultimate, because I think $17 a month to play this is definitely worth it too.